Hello friends, welcome back to Zhengguandian. I'm Jen Fei. Last night at 8:35 p.m. during the annual White House Correspondents Dinner at the Washington Hilton Hotel, a California teacher charged at the metal detector gate wielding a shotgun and a handgun. Just one wall away in the banquet hall sat Vice President Vance, Secretary of State Pompeo, and the entire Trump administration team. This is the third attack Trump has faced, following being shot in the ear in Pennsylvania in July 2024 and the attack at a golf course in September. In this episode, we'll spend 20 minutes going through every detail of the entire incident from start to finish, who the assailant was, including his latest confession today, why he acted, and what Trump had to say about it. We'll explain everything clearly in one go. If you're new to True Perspective, we often do these 20 minutes to understand major events series, so please make sure to subscribe. And to our old friends, please do me a favour and give this video a like right now. The White House Correspondents Association annual dinner, known in English as the White House Correspondents Dinner, or WHCD for short, has been held for many years. Every year at the end of April, all of Washington's politicians, journalists and celebrities gather together. Traditionally, the sitting US president attends, tells a few jokes to the reporters, pokes fun at himself, teases the media and helps build relationships. However, during Trump's first term, he never attended even once. Last night, for the first time as a sitting US president, he attended this White House Correspondents' Dinner. The dinner was held at the Hilton Hotel in Washington. This hotel actually has some history. Back in 1981, President Reagan was shot by a man named John Hinckley Jr. right outside this very Hilton. Since then, the Hilton built a special suite near the entrance specifically for the president, so that in case anything happens, the president can be immediately moved there. Last night, this presidential suite was put to use for the first time. According to CNN's senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe, the security level for the dinner was almost on par with that of a national security event. All 2,600 guests had to go through a series of metal detectors in the hotel lobby and pass security checks one by one before they could enter the banquet hall. Around 8 p.m, guests began to enter the venue one after another. At 8:25 p.m, the president of the White House Correspondents Association, CBS News reporter Wei Jiajiang, took the stage to deliver a welcome speech. After she finished speaking, she asked everyone to take their seats and get ready for the first course, a pea and burrata arugula salad. This scene took place at 8:34 p.m. The very next second, something happened. At 8:35 p.m, at the metal detector gate closest to the banquet hall in the lobby of the Sheraton Hotel, a man dressed in dark clothing came running at full speed from the direction of the lobby toward the detector gate. He was holding a long gun in his hands, which was later confirmed by the FBI to be a shotgun. He also had a handgun on him and several knives tucked into his waistband. He did not go through the normal security check procedure to enter the banquet hall. According to information later obtained by Sean Hannity from senior White House officials, this man had previously sneaked into the Sheraton Hotel, found an unlocked back room, assembled the long gun there and then burst out. In other words, the assassin carried out the operation from inside the Sheraton Hotel. However, this information was later refuted by the police, who said that the man was actually a registered guest at the Sheraton Hotel that night. That is to say, he did not sneak into the Sheraton from outside or illegally enter the hotel. Rather, he had already checked in that evening. He was from the Civil Affairs University, stayed at the Sheraton Hotel, and then acted from inside the hotel. He launched this attack by charging directly toward the metal detector gate, with his target being the banquet hall beyond the gate. Inside the banquet hall, the entire Trump team was already seated. CNN reporter Wolf Blitzer happened to be standing just outside the banquet hall at that time, only a few feet away from the assailant. Facing the attacker, he saw the assailant raise his gun and open fire on the Secret Service agents. Bang, 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 bang. The assailant fired 5 to 8 shots in quick succession. The first bullet hit a Secret Service officer directly on his bulletproof vest. This officer was extremely close to the attacker. Later, at a press conference, Trump said that the officer was shot at very close range with a very powerful gun, and it was the bulletproof vest that saved his life. The officer fell to the ground immediately, but fortunately was unharmed. A gunfight then broke out with Secret Service agents and the assailant exchanging fire. Bullets flew everywhere, shattering the glass windows of the hall. At that moment, the 2,600 people in the banquet hall, who were bowing their heads and eating their appetizers and salads, all heard the gunshots. Within a second of the shots being fired, Secret Service agents in the banquet hall rushed onto the stage, pinned Trump down and quickly escorted him backstage. At the same time, shouts of get down, filled the banquet hall. On the way, Trump stumbled and fell to the ground, but Secret Service agents immediately helped him up and continued rushing him out. In the end, he was safely escorted into a special presidential suite. At the back of the banquet hall, you could already smell the gunpowder. Vice President Vance was almost dragged out, forcibly pulled from the banquet hall. The others, Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary of War Hegessis, and all the protected cabinet members, were all immediately escorted to safe areas separately. Inside the banquet hall, all the guests dove under the tables. In the video, you can see people lying flat on the carpet. Some reporters are filming with their phones, covering themselves with tablecloths. Republican Congressman Mike Lawler was also present at the time. He said, "I heard a bang but had no idea what it was, and then there were all sorts of crashing noises." Washington, D.C. Federal Prosecutor Jeannie Pirro said, "The entire banquet hall instantly fell silent. I looked up. All the thousands of law enforcement officers present rushed out. Everyone else kept their heads down. In the corner of the banquet hall, someone began singing 'God Bless America.' Meanwhile, outside the banquet hall, the assailant had already been pinned to the floor of the lobby. From the moment the assailant charged into being subdued, the entire process took less than 80 seconds. After the incident occurred, the response at the Hilton Hotel was extremely swift. The gunshots were fired at 8:35, and by around 8:40, the Secret Service had confirmed via radio that the suspect was in custody. Around 8:45, CNN anchor Caitlin Collins was inside the banquet hall. She had already been informed by a Secret Service agent that the assailant was confirmed dead. The Secretary of Education also told CNN Live that the shooter was already dead in the hall. However, this information was later overturned. At around 9 o'clock, the FBI issued an official statement on the X platform, confirming that the suspect was in custody. In other words, the assailant was not dead, but was captured alive. Later, DC Police Chief Carroll also confirmed that although the Secret Service fired at the assailant, they did not hit him. He was later taken to a local hospital for examination and was found to be uninjured. And what about the Secret Service officer who was hit in the bulletproof vest? He was taken to the hospital and is now in stable condition. Trump said he was in good spirits. 20 minutes later, at 9:20 p.m. that night, security personnel began to clear the venue, and the dinner was announced cancelled. Trump was escorted back to the White House. He did not go home to change clothes, but instead went straight into the White House press briefing room, still wearing his tuxedo. A reporter asked him if he himself was the target of the assassination attempt. Trump replied, "I guess so. These people are all crazy. You never really know." However, he added, "He was quite far from me." He went on to say, "Our Secret Service resources, some are disguised, sitting at the tables, and some are spread throughout the entire room." He would have had to walk a long way to get close to me. A reporter asked if there had been any prior intelligence about a threat. Trump said, "No, we didn't receive any notification at all. We had no idea." The reporter then asked how he viewed the shooter. Trump used a few words: lone wolf, freak. He also called the attacker a violent maniac and said that the shooter looked extremely evil. When the Secret Service pinned him to the ground, he was still struggling desperately. A reporter asked, as the US president, "How do you feel about being the target of assassination attempts 3 times in a row?" Trump replied, "I try not to think about it. I live a fairly normal life. Considering that this is a dangerous job, I think I've handled it pretty well." You see, in the news, some people completely break down when they encounter something like this. Honestly, I'm not the kind of person who falls apart. I accept reality, and I'm doing this for the country. These words are truly moving to hear. It reminds me of a video I saw earlier on X. It was a scene captured by White House surveillance. At 4 o'clock in the morning, Trump was praying in the Oval Office of the White House, asking God to give him strength. This job was extremely exhausting for him, but he prayed to God for the strength to do it well. So I believe that after seeing this, my friends will all be moved by Trump's spirit. Here, it's truly worth giving him a thumbs up. Also, I welcome everyone to share in the comments what you would like to say to Trump right now. Back to the topic, Trump also said that when you are an influential person, they will come after you. When you have no influence, they will let you go. The reporter then asked whether it was related to the ongoing war between the United States and Iran. Trump denied it, saying, "I don't think so. This matter will not change my determination to win this war." At the press conference, Trump said he originally wanted to stay and continue with the dinner. At that time, I wanted to stay too, to be honest. I tried my best to stay, but law enforcement insisted on cancelling it. Later, DC Federal Prosecutor Pirro announced formal charges against the assailant. The first charge was the use of a firearm during a violent crime, and the second charge was assaulting a federal officer with a dangerous weapon. He said that based on the information currently available, this person was trying to cause as much harm and destruction as possible. Based on what we are learning, there will be more charges to come. At present, it appears to be a transitional action. It is a lone wolf attacker who will make his first appearance in federal court on Monday, which is tomorrow. At this point, the question that many people are most concerned about arises. Who exactly is this attacker? What was his motive? Why did he carry out such an assassination attempt? Was Trump really the target? Today, he has already personally admitted this to the police. He went there with the intention of shooting officials from the Trump administration. There is a lot of information here, especially regarding the background of the attacker. After 10 p.m. last night, the identity of the attacker was confirmed. His name is Cole Thomas Allen, a 31-year-old young to middle-aged man living in Torrance, California. At this point, the first surprising fact is that the person who stormed the US president's banquet hall with a shotgun turned out to be a top student, and not just any top student, but an elite one. Allen graduated from the California Institute of Technology in 2017. The California Institute of Technology is a prestigious private research university, consistently ranked among the top 10 in the nation. At Caltech, he earned his bachelor's degree in mechanical engineering. During his time at the university, he also helped design a prototype for an emergency braking system for wheelchairs, which was even featured by the local media. What did Allen do after graduating from Caltech? He didn't stop learning. In 2025, which was last year, he earned another master's degree in computer science from California State University, Dominguez Hills. He even posted a graduation photo wearing his cap on LinkedIn with a caption saying, "My computer science master's is finally done." In other words, he's an elite with a double degree, a bachelor's in mechanical engineering and a master's in computer science, a classic overachiever in science and engineering. But the second surprising thing about his background is that he's not just a top student. He's also a teacher, and a highly regarded one at that. He worked as a tutor at an institution called C2 Education in Torrance, California. C2 Education is a nationwide chain of private tutoring centres in the US, specialising in academic support and test preparation for high school students applying to college. At C2, Allen taught 3 subjects: biology, mathematics, and natural sciences. In December 2025, the Torrance branch of C2 Education named him Teacher of the Month and even made a special post on Instagram to recognise him. In other words, just 4 months before he carried out this assassination attempt, he was still being honoured as an outstanding teacher. So how did his students view him? Dylan, the president of the Asian American Citizens Trust, told the Los Angeles Times that Allen had tutored high school students from their organisation, and the students' impression of Allen was that he was very smart. He was very knowledgeable in biology, mathematics, and the natural sciences. He was mild-mannered and rather quiet. The third surprising thing is that besides being a top student and a teacher, he was also an independent game developer. In his own profile, he introduced himself by saying, "Mechanical engineer and computer scientist are my degrees. Independent game developer is my experience. Teaching is my calling." He has released an indie game on the Steam platform, and now he is developing a second one, a top-down shooter set in space. Speaking of this, such a background is truly chilling when you think about it. How could a young man who graduated from a prestigious university, appears gentle and quiet, works in the education system, and even develops games, suddenly storm into the banquet hall of the US president with a gun? Here, we have to talk about his political leanings. According to public records from the US Federal Election Commission, or FEC, Allen made a donation in October 2024 to Act Blue, which is the largest political fundraising platform for the Democratic Party in the United States. The amount wasn't large, just $25. However, this is the first time that Allen's political donation was noted as being specifically for supporting Harris's presidential campaign. According to California voter registration records, Allen is registered with no party preference, not as a formally registered Democrat. However, as we all know, in a deep blue state like California, many young people are unwilling to formally register with a political party, but their actual political leanings can be seen from their donation records and social media statements. And just a few hours after this incident occurred, CBS, citing 2 law enforcement sources, revealed the most crucial piece of information so far. After being arrested, Allen personally admitted to the police. He was there because he wanted to shoot officials from the Trump administration. There is actually a rather intriguing detail here. It's unclear whether this detail will be further revealed in the coming days. He said he wanted to shoot officials from the Trump administration, but did not say he wanted to shoot Trump himself. So, could it be possible that someone else was his target? This is something worth keeping an eye on to see if more information will be disclosed in the coming days. So friends, remember to subscribe to Jung Guandian. We will keep you updated with the latest information as soon as it becomes available. So up to now, let's sketch a profile of this perpetrator. He is a young man from California who once donated to Harris, travelled alone from California to Washington, specifically booked a room at the Hilton Hotel, brought weapon parts into the hotel, assembled a shotgun, and then, after the banquet began, rushed into the banquet hall where Trump was present. After being arrested, he personally admitted that the target of his investigation was officials from the Trump administration. Judging from these known facts, the direction of his motive is already very clear. This is a young man with strong hostility toward the Trump administration and left-leaning political tendencies, who last night turned his political hatred of the government into real bullets. The police have revealed that the next step in the investigation will more specifically uncover his ideological trajectory. Late last night, the FBI had already surrounded his home on Gramsci Avenue in Torrance. This is the place where he lives with his parents. The FBI is executing a search warrant, conducting a thorough examination of his computer, cell phone, social media accounts, bank records, and his usual writings. It is expected that in the next day or two, details such as whether he has posted radical political statements online, whom he has communicated with, and whether this act was a spur-of-the-moment decision or a long-planned scheme will gradually come to light. Acting Attorney General Blanche said that justice will ultimately be served. FBI Director Kash Patel has called on anyone with information to contact the FBI, emphasizing that every piece of information is important. Up to this point, we have reconstructed all the relevant information and details about last night's assassination attempt. It's important to note that since 2024, this is the third time Trump has faced an assassination attempt at close range. Let's review the first incident. It happened on July 13, 2024, in the small town of Butler, Pennsylvania, where Trump was holding an outdoor campaign rally. At that time, a 20-year-old local named Thomas Crooks climbed onto the roof of a building next to the rally site several hours in advance, armed with an A-25 semi-automatic rifle, and took aim at Trump from above. Trump was giving a speech on stage, but then, in a remarkable moment, he turned his head to the right. The bullet grazed his right ear but did not hit any vital area. After Trump was knocked down, he stood back up and shouted, "Fight, fight, fight," 3 times. With blood streaming down his face, his fist raised and the flag waving behind him, that moment became the highlight of the 2024 election. However, at that moment, an audience member below the stage was struck by a bullet and died on the spot. Later, the shooter was shot and killed by the Secret Service at the scene. This was the first time. The second incident happened on September 15th of that year at Trump's golf course. At that time, Trump was playing golf. As he walked to a certain spot on the course, a Secret Service agent caught a glint of metal reflecting from deep within the bushes out of the corner of his eye. It was the barrel of an SKS semi-automatic rifle. The shooter was a 58-year-old man who had been lying in wait in the bushes for a full 12 hours, waiting for Trump to enter his line of fire. The Secret Service agent did not hesitate and immediately opened fire. The man did not return fire, he dropped his gun and ran. He was later caught by the police and sentenced to life in prison. On that occasion, Trump was completely unharmed. But if that agent had discovered him just a few seconds later, or if there hadn't been that glint of reflected light, the outcome could have been completely different. The third incident happened last night, from the sniper on the Butler rooftop to the ambusher who lay in wait for 12 hours beside the golf course bushes, and then to last night, a science and engineering teacher who booked a room at the Hilton Hotel, checked in, assembled a shotgun, and attempted to confront security head-on. 3 attacks, 3 attackers with no connection in terms of intent, but there is a common thread running through them: hatred toward Trump and his administration. This kind of hatred doesn't care about age and can come from any social class. Nor does it depend on what kind of education they've received. Over the past few years, this hatred has been steadily accumulating in America, and now it is constantly seeking an outlet. I have never hidden my political stance. I support President Trump and the things he is doing. But what happened today has nothing to do with whether I support Trump or not. A young elite from California who received the best education and works in the field of teaching and nurturing others. Simply because of differing political views, because of a dislike for a certain government, this kind of political hatred has been turned into real gun violence. The very nature of this incident is incompatible with any political stance. Last night at the press conference, Trump said, "I don't care how many security personnel you have or how good they are. If a lunatic has a twisted mind or is extremely deranged, they can still cause trouble." This is the problem that America faces today, and the current situation is actually the result of a long period of accumulation and deep-rooted causes. Friends, if you have anything you'd like to say, please leave a comment and share with me more about the motives of this killer, his upbringing, the traces he left online, and any further details about his assassination plan. Once the FBI investigation results are released, I will continue to follow up in future episodes. All right, thank you all for watching. Subscribe to True Perspective, and if you enjoy this 20-minute overview series, please share today's episode with friends and family who might need it. Thank you all for your support, and we'll see you soon on True Perspective. Don't miss it. Bye-bye.